Hello and welcome to another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. So I'm going to have a go at solving today's times puzzle, and I might mutter a few things during the solving of it, but I'll try and give you a clue at the end as to what the bits that were either helping or hindering me as we went through the solve were. So opening up the puzzle now and just going to have a crack at it and we'll see how it goes. So here it comes. There we go. Future army commander involved in heavy work. I'm not seeing that. Tea dance with no matching pairs. Beginning to think this might be difficult. Running in Malta's PM. Hardly. Don't know what that's about. In which broken carpal sets with time. So this is an anagram of carpal sets and T, and it's something that it's an and-lit clue, so the whole answer defines that. Consecutive letters penned by a Turk, edited a tiny bit. So that's a weird scientific phrase that I don't know. The consecutive letters are OPQ. The dance was a cha-cha-cha. Future is to come. Tome is the heavy work. Running in Malta's PM. Hardly. Can't see that still. Oh, matinee maybe. Send mad. Swedish girl on a French horse. So unhinge. Inga is the Swedish girl. Volatile electors a worry. That looks like an anagram. Yeah, Royal Worcester. So matinal is in Malta anagram and not PM because it's in the AM, the morning. Firing at Wellington's command. Order of the... not sure. Hers are virtual card tricks. Anagram of our virtual card? Should probably have started with the letters in the grid. Holds, poles, put in ground further up. Ooh. Interns. Yes. Verb meaning interns holds. Aftermath of heavy rain, perhaps. The price for staying at Glastonbury. So that would be Tor rent because of Glastonbury Tor. 8 down. Being socially aware maybe is not ending very well. Go back to this long one. Hers are virtual card tricks. Must be an anagram of something. Although practical jokes. Practical joker. I think. Track athlete having left for a run. So that's sprinter. Having left for a run. So splinter. A little bit. That's shattered. 7 down. Irish town associated with mini computer game. Ooh. Not seeing that. 8 down. Being socially aware maybe is not ending very well. Appropriate interest. Apt. Don't know. That's annoying. Right. Hey dog. Grass, moor, hay, dog, park, set aside. 17 across. Most of hog, HO. Hospital corner is tucked in smartly, so that'll be that one. And we'll move on to the acrosses. Invite askance, tango's dance. A useless distribution of writing material in the main. Can't see that. Stole odd pieces from 20. Well, have we solved 20? No, but it's boa is a stole. So the odd pieces of boa, that would be baobab, yeah. And hot dish bake, low calorie bake light. Makes me think I'm not pronouncing it right. Flipping game is irrational. Take heed, everyone. Pinball is a flipping game. And NB is take heed. Makes up 9. God, there's a reference. Plastercast. ready to use. Oh, couldn't be an anagram of plastercast. At one's atones is make up. At one's 9. Don't know. Gathered locks point in wrong direction. Gathered locks could be a mop. Oh, order of the boot, Wellington. Fair enough. 27 to hit. Ennis. Ennis can be an Irish town, so with a tablet, that's table tennis. 11 across. Appropriate interest begins with a B. Bag. My bag is my interest. Being socially aware, right off, is not ending very well, is righto. And then 16 down, sibling, probably bro, given they are. Out with daughter in Theatreland. Broadway? Yeah, with daughter. Out, oops, out is away, with daughter in. So, Broadway. This is some sort of at one's 9, ready to use. Elbow. Because a plaster cast? No, I don't know. I suppose a plaster cast could be at one's elbow. Gathered locks, a bun, is nub in the wrong direction. To hit high notes, stop humming. That sounds like smelly or something. To hit high notes. Ooh, gonna need to do this one. Stuff you need before filling old tank. Overeat, that is the tank. So it is stinky to hit high notes, or is it stingy? To hit high notes, stop. I can't quite see why. This is probably open C. Writing is pen. I'm not really seeing either of those. Why is 22 open C? A useless distribution of writing material in the main. Don't know. To hit high notes, stop. Why is that stinky? To hit high is sky, that notes tin, stop. Okay, a useless distribution. Open C. I'm going for it anyway. I'm not absolutely sure if that's right, but we shall find out in a moment. Practical Joker was strange at 5 down because it seemed to define, I think the whole clue defined it, but it made it a female, which, yeah, that was correct. Okay, so interesting. I'm not 100% sure why open C was right. I can tell you this is the sort of uncertainty that can be very unsettling when you're in the times competition, either in the heats or the final, because you might feel reasonably confident. I'd say the 3 answers I'm not 100% sure on there are Practical Joker, open C. Well, at one's elbow has to be right, but I don't really know why yet. And although I could work it out if I sat down and looked at the clues for a while, when you're, say, in the final of the Times Championship, you want to hand in your script as soon as possible. So what you end up doing is handing it in and then sitting there for perhaps up to half an hour, not knowing if what you've handed in was right or not. Trying, because you've handed in the script with the clue on it, trying to remember what the exact wording of the clue was sometimes, and to work out why that might have been the right answer for that clue. So here I at least have the benefit of looking at these clues again. And 5 down for Practical Joker. Hers are virtual card tricks. Well, virtual and practical have similar meanings as almost. And a joker is a card. So if one accepts that somebody, a female practical joker, this whole clue could define, hers are virtual card tricks. Well, they're probably not card tricks, but the question mark kind of means it's a possibility. So hers are tricks. yeah, that might define a practical joker, but virtual card seems to be the wordplay. So I'm still, even after some consideration, not really understanding why that does give practical joker. It's a nice phrase, and as I say, virtual gives practical, card gives joker, but it's a bit of a strange definition in that clue. And as I say, I think the setter thinks he's done something quite clever, but it's pretty hard to exactly parse how it works for me. 22 across. Now, this one I really haven't understood, but I think it had to be C as the second word, and therefore the first word had to be open. But let's have another look. A useless distribution of writing material in the main. So I think the writing material is pens, but what is the useless distribution? Maybe we take use out of something. I can't see it. The main seems to be the definition. Open sea, that's fair enough. But open sea, I might be missing something fairly obvious here because I'm not seeing at all where the O, E and A come from. Useless distribution. Maybe I'm thinking about the wrong writing material entirely. What is it backwards? A snipper? No, doesn't mean anything. A useless distribution of writing material. Well, I mean, still, I'm not seeing that. I'm clearly missing what's meant to be going on there, which is frustrating. I won't detain you, but that's unusual enough and strange enough that I might go off and have to look at a blog to see if someone else has explained why that one is open sea. Open sea. Just can't see it. 24. Now this said this was at one's elbow, and it says makes up 9 ready to use, where 9 wasn't the answer plaster cast as I thought when I was racing through the puzzle. It was order of the boot. So that's probably irrelevant. So makes up is atones, and then 9 ready to use is at one's elbow, so 9 must somehow mean elbow. If you give someone the elbow, you give them the order of the boot. Crikey. Okay, I'm glad I didn't stop to work that out because that's taken a minute or so on its own. There were some other tough clues in the puzzle. One down, consecutive letters penned by a Turk edited a tiny bit. Well, I can see that a Turk, an anagram of that, is going around something, and consecutive letters is very specific, and it did immediately suggest to me that it was referring to the alphabet. Now I was lucky when I looked at this clue. I had the P, and it couldn't be PQR as consecutive letters, and it couldn't be NOP because I also had a T 2 letters before the P. So I tried putting OPQ in, and the only possible arrangement of a Turk beginning with T around that would give top quark. Now I'm not going to claim. I know that quarks are subatomic particles. I know that there are a variety of them, possibly 6 specific kinds of quark that I couldn't name necessarily. I certainly didn't think top quark was one of them, but it works very well. It's clearly defined by a tiny bit, so in a lot of ways I lucked into that answer. And 20 down, I got lucky because of 23 across. At 23 across, I'd learned that a boa was providing the odd pieces of 20 down. So I knew that the odd letters, which happens to be all the unchecked letters, were B-O-A. And that made the answer the baobab tree, which again isn't necessarily the most common. Sorry, I was meant to be looking at the clue here. Last item on agenda, any other business, AOB, I haven't seen that. To block pruning of very small, so that's baby, pruned down to big AB. So you put AOB in BAB and you get Baobab defined as tree. So there were some tough clues here. I mean, 7 minutes 26 seconds, not a fast time for me, but for that puzzle I think that's a pretty good time. I mean, there's some tough stuff there. Still not understanding OpenSea at 22 across. Congratulations if you've understood it, and do feel free to explain it in the comments. That might be a good way for me to find out what I'm missing there. Happily, it was the right answer. I'm hoping not to have that sort of uncertainty on Saturday, but the time would probably work. It's just a question of whether there's a chance of mistakes, and you know, it's very arguable that I could wait a minute or two more and think about clues like that for longer, just to make absolutely sure. Stinky was worth thinking about because stingy would have fitted, and sing could be hit the high notes. So I'm glad I spent the time on that. And often competing comes down to working out how much time you want to spend and how much time you think you're wasting. I have sat at the championship in the heat, having handed in my puzzle, and the chap next to me had finished writing and started studying his script, and I'd been kind of keeping an eye on the people who had entered their scripts, and I knew that if he was in the next 3 or 4 people and he was all correct, he'd make the final. But he sat there for 3 or 4 minutes looking at various clues. I was assuming he still had 1 or 2 left to solve, but in the end he didn't enter anything else, and then finally handed it in, and now too late to qualify for the final. I don't know if he was all correct, but I do know that he wasn't in the final, and you know, kind of wondering whether you have to take a bit of a chance rather than convince yourself of every single answer. I don't know what the answer to that is overall, but it's worked well for me in the last few years, my technique, which tends to be to check very carefully in the heat and to be a bit more gung-ho in the final. So that's where we are for today. Thanks for joining us, and hope to see you again, possibly on Saturday at the championship. Bye now.